Truth.
Welcome to the second hour of Authentic News right here on RBN Live this third day of April 2025, where I take your calls. Delighted first caller up, Layla from Canada. Join the conversation. Layla, welcome back.
Yeah, hi, Jim. I have to compliment you on your first hour. It was just jam-packed with news. There's so much that's worthy of commentary, but more than anything else, the old cliche of the canary in the coal mine, I kind of look at what is happening in Palestine and Gaza as being the canary in the coal mine. I mean, there's chaos going on all over the world, and much of it is being prompted or incited by Netanyahu. I don't know what the American public can do, or whether the American public recognizes yet that what they're observing is probably a preview of what's going to be happening to a greater extent right here. I mean, the stealing of the right of free speech, to have a foreign so-called leader of a nation dictating to the American people what they're allowed to say.
Layla, we look forward to your return to complete those thoughts. JP in Chicago. JP, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, Jim. I don't know what happened to Layla, but I'd like to rebuttal her conversation about RFK. RFK, he didn't get an alcoholic problem. That happened to him in the middle of the night. He has dyslexia. The entire family, JFK, his father, RFK Sr., all murdered by the mob and the CIA. We know this. Okay, Jim, you and I know this. We've done the research. But the big problem we have today is the Smith-Mundt Act, and this is the fake news. Now, Trump never got rid of it. So I think the Patriot News Hour, they're doing the same thing Obama was doing and Biden was doing, but just in a different aspect, like pro-Israel, pro-right. What do you think about that, Jim? Fake news?
Well, let me give a little background for the audience. Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 precluded the use of the same techniques of propaganda and disinformation within the United States that were being used abroad. By the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, Barack Obama nullified the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 to allow the same kind of propaganda, which includes staged events, paid riots and the like, occur in the United States just in time to bring us Sandy Hook. And I guarantee
Sandy
you...
Hook. I was going to say
Yep.
that.
That's right. Which was a stage event with crisis actors. Eric Holder came to Newtown in 2006, offered the community $114 million if they'd participate in this kind of scam that was supposed to illustrate what could happen if we don't take guns away from the American people. They had auditions for roles. They had to sign non-disclosure agreements. They received benefits that continue to this day, including paying no taxes. And would you believe, and for nearly 3 years now, I've been in communication with two of the participants. The young woman who was cast as Emily Parker, a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, was supposed to have died. And another who was cast as Victoria Soto, a teacher, is supposed to have heroically given her life. They were both cast by their mothers without their knowledge and have not signed non-disclosure agreements. And they informed me that the scam is still bringing in $1 million a month. $1 million a month.
Now, listen to this theory. If Trump were to appeal that or do an executive action to get rid of that, your case would open wide the F up. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jim? If they were to declassify that whole Sandy Hook stuff on the back end and make it illegal for what they were doing, if Trump were to do that legally, your case would open up. Seriously. Same with mine. If they discovered that this Vietnamese whore might have murdered a priest, but she did steal his identity, the church was burned down, and she stole his logbook, and for 20 years she's been signing his name, even though he's been dead. I got the evidence, Jim. You've seen it. I sent it to the FBI. I sent it to all the judges in Wisconsin, including Crawford. And guess what? I got a returned envelope today. She didn't even bother looking at the evidence. She didn't want to look at the evidence. So this is the problem. Lawfare and manipulating things through classification levels. And if the government can do that, and they've been doing that with Obama, it's a dragnet. They've been using the NSA, CIA, and FBI. And as a government contractor, I witnessed this firsthand. I was kind of one of the first whistleblowers, although I didn't have to run away to Russia, but I did get lawfare hit against me. And part of it was because I was a Tea Party Republican. And I was in a Democratic city there where they were targeting me, specifically because I was trying to stop the cheating of the election in 2016. And there's a lot of cheating going on back then, Jim. I mean, all kinds. Hillary Clinton. I mean, they had the CIA, FBI, Comey, all Brennan. All those guys were spying on Trump. It was bad. And there was a white hat movement that worked against that. And thank God I was part of it. But if that didn't happen, Trump would have never got elected. They would have had him locked up for Russian collusion or whatever with the Steele dossier, which we all know now is fake. So we got to be real careful. That's all I got to say with this left-right paradigm, the Jewish, Muslim, the commie, Nazi, the Hindu Islam, it's all divide and conquer. Why the rich, usual suspects, people we're not allowed to talk about, they run off to the bank with all their money based on usury and compound interest. It's the most powerful thing in the world. They're ruling us through compound interest from their ancestors hundreds of years ago. And those same people, their ancestors are running things today, Jim. I'm sorry. They just do.
Much appreciated, JP. You got a final thought you'd like to add?
Obama. I believe he's a commie Muslim, Nicky Faggot, and he's the black one from Nostradamus, calling the black one the Mahdi. The Muslim fell from his name, means Barack Hussein Obama, means fell from the sky, the lightning, Muhammad's horse. He has all the characteristics, and he will do everything to empower the left commies to root this constitutional republic we live in, and he's doing a good job at it. Peace out, brother.
JP, yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of that. He was, I think, running a lot of the shop here when we had this fake Biden and the auto pen that enabled whoever controlled it to sign any EOs that they preferred. Last thought?
Well, I think he is the Mahdi. I think he's the one that's going to try to bring rebellion in the summertime, and watch out for that. Watch out for it's the commie, Muslim, queer, gay, LBG union. They're all united under Obama. That's his horse. So watch that crazy horse. The crazy horse is going to be riding this summer.
Thank you. Thanks, JP. Thanks for the call. Layla, I'm glad to have you back reconnected. I was just getting comfortable when you disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what happens, but I seem to often lose my the connection when I call the show. But anyway, what I was starting to say was that I'm so afraid of what's going to be happening not only in the U.S., but also in Canada. Mexico is already a basket case. And we're all so close together, but I don't know if the public is really even aware. Of course, everybody's busy just trying to survive. But somehow people have got to become aware that by allowing Israel is an illegitimate nation. The way it was created was illegitimate. And yet the fact that it was immediately recognized by Truman gave it a degree of legitimacy. And this is the problem. The U.S. has been used by Israel, by the Zionists. It's not the Jews, it's the Zionists. The Jews themselves have been used by the Zionists. But the problem is, how do the people become aware? Enough of the people. And then secondly, what can be done? Assuming the majority of Americans recognize that their rights are being trampled on or will be soon. It's not simply those who criticize Israel that are going to be threatened. It's going to be anybody. They may not be deported. They'll just be thrown in jail. They'll be thrown in prison for whatever, or they'll probably even create, like the Soviet Union once did, they'll have psychiatric cases of people are mentally ill when they disagree with with what is supposed to be in the public interest. So I don't know. I mean, what can be done? There must be experts out there who recognize what can be done. I mean, the media, the corporate media, it's not the legacy media. Legacy has a positive connotation. It's the corporate media, the evil. It's the BlackRocks. It's the Vanguards. Do you realize that they not only own part of Apple, they also own a lot of the cellular, the mobile phone carriers, the ones that compete with each other? There is no competition anymore when the same corrupt people like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street and all of those. Just as the other caller from L.A. was talking about BlackRock and Vanguard months ago, I think we've belatedly begun to realize that they control a lot of the ones who should be competing with each other in a real capitalist free society. They control all of the instruments where we can communicate with one another. It's terrifying. What is that? And also the fact that Trump is busy dismantling trade agreements and creating tariffs and counter tariffs. I mean, what Trump is doing now is creating crisis in Canada, and the Zionists, the Zionists in Canada, Pierre Poilievre, who is a genocide supporter, has now got the backing of the unions. Imagine the unions backing a conservative. But that's because they've been bought off too, just like when the corporations bought the union leaders and then shipped off the jobs to other countries to leave Americans. What is that? Who was it that said, I don't care, we don't need to own slaves anymore. All we have to do is control their wages, and then we can control them? I can't remember who it was, but it was at the time that the abolition of slavery was being debated. And they said, if you own a slave, you're responsible for their health care and their maintenance. Let them go. We can enslave people by controlling their wages and the conditions under which they live. Now, who would have said that if not those who own slaves or dealt in slaves? I mean, we have already been enslaved, but it may not be too late. If enough of us get together, the question is, how do we do it legally? The last thing we want is war, because that's what they want. I mean, the weapons that they have now can outdo any meager methods we may have of resistance. Maybe you can look into it, talk to people, and see what are our options, because it is time that we stand up and say,
yes.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No. I think you're raising a very serious question, and it cannot come from the Democrats who are disorganized and discredited. It's got to come from inside the MAGA movement by individuals who are critical of the leader of the movement, who's proving to be someone very different than he campaigned as being. I think that's got to be the origin of the source. And Layla, I wanted to ask, what are your reflections on Trump's threats to bomb Iran for a non-existent nuclear weapons program? I find this very disturbing. And do you think that Iran would be wise or unwise to make a preemptive strike on Diego Garcia?
If it were me, I would do a preemptive strike. I would not only go after Diego Garcia, I would bomb Israel, because Israel has been threatening to destroy Iran. That is a threat. It would be preemptive because Israel has been Netanyahu and the ones preceding him have always talked about a preemptive strike. But the trouble is Iran is going to have to deal with the corrupt Arabs that are right there. The only ones who have any honor are the ones in Yemen. But MBS, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, do you know that Qatar has actually, Phil Giraldi discussed it yesterday in his interview with Napolitano. Qatar has been paying Israel to promote Qatar amongst Israelis. That's how corrupt. Now, there's a guy, he's an Armenian. He left Syria to seek refuge in Germany, and he has a program called Syriana Analysis. He has been saying for months that Qatar is a psyop, brainwashing the Arabs, trying to brainwash the residents of the Arabian countries in order to subjugate them. He's absolutely right. What Phil Girardi said yesterday is just verifies that. If I had any doubts before. I mean, the Al-Qaeda, and I was shocked that Scott Ritter, at the end of his interview yesterday, said that he would never tolerate any association with Al-Qaeda after what they did on 9/11. My God, Scott Ritter, you of all people should know it wasn't really Al-Qaeda, which was financed and created by the CIA. The whole Arab Spring was a fake. I knew it at the time it was happening. That there were instigators creating, I mean, it was so obvious to people. You would be aware, and it was obvious to me. Yeah, well, I was saying, oh, isn't that wonderful? It's a Democrat. No, it wasn't a democratic movement. It was creating chaos. What they did was they used Arab Jews to kill Christians, and then they also bribed Muslims to kill Christians as well. There's two sides to Islam. Part of it is really evil and corrupt, and part of it is very noble and honorable. Now, the noble and honorable ones are the Yemenis, the Houthis. And that used to be, oddly enough, the land of the Queen of Sheba in ancient times. But it was, but anyway, in Iran, there are many good people in Iran, but they too have been bought off. I mean, the killing of in that helicopter where the President Raisi was killed, that was definitely, I think, some kind of missile or something that was directed at that thing from Azerbaijan, because it was right near the Azerbaijani border where they have cooperated with Israel. They're the ones shipping the oil through Turkey, another traitor, another two-faced, two-headed monster who's betrayed the Palestinians. They all want to take control of Gaza and the Palestinian territories for all the resources. And the Zionists have known it from the very beginning. And by God, Jews, you always have been the first victim. First, your religion was destroyed, and now they're making people just blame Jews for what the Zionists are doing. So ultimately, in the future, that places all Jews at risk.
You had a very important point that slipped by about Phil Giraldi with Judge Napolitano. We lost her again. Okay. Gabriel from Arkansas, join the conversation. Gabriel, we'll pick back up with Layla when she returns. Stand by.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely
Picking it up with Gabriel from Arkansas. Join the conversation. Gabriel, welcome back.
Good afternoon, Professor Fetzer. I wanted to talk about Trump's complicity with the illegal drones and illegal fires. There have been more fires now than ever. These unnatural fires are started by advanced microwave energy weapons, often leaving trees and plants unburned, while homes and vehicles are burned at temperatures abnormally high. Glass, windshields, metal wheels, and other metal and glass melting into liquid, the evidence overwhelming. During the fire, reports of people blocked in and prevented from leaving. Then after the fire, people are prevented from returning to their property to prevent more photo evidence. I have seen photos and videos that show unburned plants and trees and metal and glass melted into liquid at temperatures much higher than normal. Recent fires in Alabama, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Colorado, Oklahoma, Florida, Hawaii, and California, just to name a few. Trump knows energy weapons are being used against Americans here at home, and he's doing absolutely nothing about it because he's in on this Zionist plan that I'm going to talk about briefly here. Here's a 5-second clip of Trump in California 2 months ago talking about the fires, saying rather than looking natural, the areas looked like they were hit by something, but he admits he doesn't want to tell the public what was used.
In the history of California, I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad situation.
So that's Trump making a reference to the fires after he went and visited California 2 months ago, saying that it looked like they were hit by something, but he doesn't want to say what. He's holding back from the public. And there's a Zionist plan is to simulate a false apocalyptic events using these advanced energy weapons to start fires. The fires and destruction are real, but their false apocalypse is man-made and it's under demonic influence. Furthermore, Trump was complicit with the recent illegal drone activity. The advanced drones are produced by 3 companies, RTX Corporation, formerly Raytheon, Northrop, and Lockheed. The Tic Tac drones, for example, come out of Lockheed. Recently, the drones used advanced surveillance technology illegally against the American people as part of this nefarious Zionist plan. This explains why they weren't shot down and their identity, purpose, and origin were concealed from the public.
I think you're raising important points, Gabriel, and as a coincidence, my guest on the Raw Deal tomorrow morning from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Revolution Radio Studio B is going to be addressing the use of directed energy weapons in Lahaina and other areas. I mentioned that in passing because it's such an important topic. Give us some final thoughts.
Final thought. These false Zionist teachings actually contradict the Gospels and the Bible. In the Gospels, the relationship between Jehovah and the Israelites changes. The Jews are no longer God's people. By rejecting Jesus, they rejected Jehovah. The Jews hated Jesus so much they demanded that he be tortured to death for political and religious reasons, even though they knew he committed no crime. In the Gospels, Jesus teaches that God's people are not the Jews or Israelites, but rather those who live by his words and example, to love God above all else, but also to love others just as much as you love yourself. And Jesus washes the feet of his students as an example of love. Now, the Jews have rejected all of this stuff and thereby have rejected God.
Gabriel, well said. Very clear presentation with arguments of your point of view. Much appreciated, Gabriel. Look forward to your next call. We're about to hit the break, but Bubba Scott Reb, you're up. You want to say a few words? We'll hit the break and continue after.
Hey, they got the National Command Center today listening in, and they know what we're all about, getting rid of these idiots, the 911. That's what this is all about. It's all at their hands, and they're not going to have a general in charge for a while. We're going to have a 7 days in May here, and it's going to happen in April.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Go ahead.
Okay,
Bubba.
this is Bubba Scout Reb, the real team. But they say, I'm the white voice, I'm the Ku Klux Klan. I'm a polite one. And they say, God of War, Bubba, he draws SWAT stickers. We call them SWAT stickers. We make fun of all their jerky ways. But when the military shows up and we show them when to end, this is Mexico. The Latrinos took over, and their demonic symbols are right behind my house. They have their demonic symbols right here from the Latrinos. It's a culture of evil. It goes back centuries. And they took over, and we're the only one with the army that could do this. But if the Michigan, well, they're not going to do anything. Anyone says they have an army, you better do something quick, because the country's going down. And we told the White House today, it will put Mr. Muskie and Mr. Potato Head over at 1600 Pennsylvania in a rust bucket and send them to Mars now. Or you could go live in Greenland, because he ain't worth a damn here in the USA. And the hoseheads in Canada, they can keep them. We don't want them here. We already got overtook by the whole empire of this Latrino bill. When you see it, you'll know. This isn't America anymore. It's changed. And the reason we're in business is because we recognized it when the lawyer who represented us told us he heard we confessed. I said, huh? We didn't confess. The lawyer was told that. But how did the lawyer hear that when we never were told we confessed? I mean, we didn't know about it, but they blamed the lawyer about this. This is when they talked to the prosecution. So we turned this. When I said that to Defense Intelligence, they took this all the way to JAG and the Joint Chiefs, because they know this is the acts of war. And we could have fixed this years ago. But we need your cooperation, just talking about Bubba Scout Reb. And now Brittany Pedersen, 7th Congressional District, she's on maternity leave, but she comes in for important things. So I let them know, you better show up and not shut up about us, because we're held hostage. We're not in Hanoi. We didn't. They're blowing at you. That's from the National Command Center at the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's what that was. They're listening in. They don't like any of this. But we're doing a 7 days in May. That's what it's going to be. You know the symbol. And that's what Bubba called it. We've organized it. And when she sees the narrative summary overview that they have right now, she's going to blow a gasket. She's going, what the hell? Because we know we're ahead of things. That's why when they come out of national security meetings at RSEC, they say, how did you know about this? I said, we're ahead of things. We've always been ahead of things. We're not like you. And we don't dwell on evil issues and what's behind the scenes. We go right after it. U.S. Public Law 109-364-61076. They just hung up. They heard that was blowing in the phone from the United States National Command Center, Office of the Chairman, Joint Chiefs, who they don't have. They have an acting chairman. That's what you just heard. They blew into the phone. That's how fed up they are. But they can't do nothing about it because they're witnesses against the worst enemies. And that's the fact. Bubba's the god of war. They know it. They're not arguing. They tolerate her. And I'm the polite one. When she hears this and reads narrow summary overview, well, she'll correlate the operations, but she's going to blow a gasket. How did this? Because we've been on the chairman of the Joint Chiefs page since February 16, 2011. It's time for action. And this whole command has to take up the charge. They have generals who are fed up, and we know it. And so that's who we talked to. That's why we had the United States Northern Command. They feel they're freaking out. How does three unknowns at Jerkwater, USA figure this out? Because we're geniuses at war. We wanted... I was there, Bubba and Scout, they took the quick course. But back in the 60s, when they had the three parties, it was the Guineas, we call them, the 911. There was no 911. They were there with the helmets and the sticks and the tear gas. The other side was a freak show. That was the Hanoi flag, the Ho Chi Minh flag, the Viet Cong, the hammer and sickle. And then filming it, they didn't even use video, was the stupid enemy Ali media. We could explain that because Hollywood's the one that started this Ali cheer, which started the Islamic Revolution. Yeah, that enemy. Well, he was an Olympic champion, but he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and all of a sudden he said he doesn't want to fight against the third world, and that stoked the whole freaking Islamic Revolution with his Elijah Muhammad and his gang, and the same thing spread all across America. That's what happened, and they wiped out that other one, Mr. The Malcolm X side, that group. They all took over with the Islamic Revolution because of the Ali. So we call them all enemy Ali media, and that's who's running the Department of Defense now. Fox News, from the same place the enemy Ali comes from. That's it, 20th century Fox. Look it up. This is all tied in, and we're going to go get them because they're through. They're
well, give us a final thought.
Plug Bubba Scout Reb 7 days in May. Only we're starting in April. We're not waiting for May because they're going to have their holiday, the Latrino holiday, Cinco de Negro. They have it on the 5th of May every year. We're done with that crap, too. But they show their flag with the... Well, it's always a snake fighting a bird. They're sick people. And their whole government is supposed to... We'll get our name out. We'll win the war. Thanks a lot. Bubba Scout Reb War. We'll win the war.
Bub. You got it. James in Charlotte, join the conversation. James.
Yes, hello, Dr. Fetzer. In the process of looking up some information, I came across some numbers that are very sobering that I thought would be appropriate to share with the listeners. There is a group called the Cost of War Project at the Institute for International and Public Affairs at Brown University.
I think this is not just a coincidence. Tom from Utah. Tom, join the conversation. We'll hope James reconnects. Tom.
I lost audio for a moment there.
It's okay. We can hear you. Go for it.
Were you asking me a question or comment on?
Yeah, I'm saying, Tom. I'm saying, go right ahead. We can hear you, Tom.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say Christ was bad for business. He was contrary to the blood sacrifice and the money changing, i.e. the stock exchange at the temple, and he was challenging their authority. So he had to go. And anybody who is Christian has got to go. We're bad for business.
Bad for business. You mean especially usury? Or you mean any form of business, Tom?
Well, their money was made by the buying of cattle or animals for the blood sacrifice. So without blood sacrifice, which he condemned, and without the money changers, he condemned them and their authority or their power or their influence over the people. So Christ had to be removed because he was a bad influence for business. Plain and simple. And also he was also interfering with their ability to make us diseased or dead.
Much appreciated, Tom. James from Charlotte, if you can reconnect, we'd like to hear the rest of what you have. We got him?
Hello.
James, go right ahead.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just about to go over some numbers from this Institute for International and Public Affairs that compiled this total cost in dollars and lives for the so-called war on terror, the post-9/11 wars. It tallies up the total in dollars to date. It's it's $8 trillion to date. And it's broken down into various figures: Afghanistan, 2.3 trillion, Iraq and Syria, 2.9 trillion, and they what they have done, they have also compiled the cost in lives and displaced persons. There's been a total. They have found some 38 million people have suffered forced displacement as a direct result of these wars. The largest of any conflict in the last 200 years. There's been a total of 4.5 million deaths, direct and indirect, in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. That includes some 7,300 American lives of both military and civilian contractors. These numbers are just staggeringly huge. There have been some projections that the cost will increase out from the $8 trillion out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 to 12 trillion dollars total expenditures by the year 2050.
Sobering numbers indeed.
Yes, I don't know that we'll have to worry about the figures at 2050 because the United States will not exist then.
I'm concerned that might be exactly right. Sad to say. James, give us some final thoughts.
Well, I don't know what's coming up with this last great incursion that we may be fighting Iran, but it will be the costliest of all. And it may well result in millions of deaths in this country.
Yes. Even in excess of 100 million, I'm afraid. We're talking about China and Russia defending Iran against an onslaught by the United States. Donald Trump seems hell-bent on attacking Iran for Israel. There's no real beef between Israel and the United States. It's all driven by the Zionist agenda and the desire for the Greater Israel Project to proceed and for Israel to dominate the region. That's what it's all about. Iran doesn't have any nukes. They don't have a nuclear weapon program. Tulsi reported that from the IC as a consensus. Iran does not have nukes. So how can we be attacking them to bring to an end a nuclear weapons program that does not even exist, James? This is just so shabby. And Donald Trump is doing all this is embarrassing, and to say disappointing is too mild a word. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm afraid that probably it's already in the works. These attacks on the Houthis in Yemen, that's adding up too. That the estimates are somewhere between 100 and 200 million a day. But again, that's going to be nothing. That's not even going to be worth a footnote if we attack Iran.
James, I think you're 100% correct. Thank you for an excellent call. Excellent.
Yes, thanks.
Dan in Washington, join the conversation. Dan.
Hey, I was going to ask, what's your, because I've heard the theory that Trump is trying to make a deal with Putin and China to basically give China Taiwan and then give Russia the Ukraine and let Syria fall so that Trump could take out Iran and, get rid of the Palestinians and stuff like that, which seems kind of like a theory that he would almost have to do if he's going to attack Iran, because Iran has deals with Russia, defense stuff. So what do you think the chances of that are? I mean, if we attack Iran, do you think Trump right now is trying to make deals with Putin and Russia because of to get those guys to not interfere? What do you think?
No, Russia has no confidence in Trump or the United States. We break agreements, we make them, we break them, we don't care, we manipulate, we lie, we cheat, we steal. I don't think Putin would abandon Iran, nor do I believe China. And in my opinion, China can take Formosa anytime it chooses, just as Russia could settle war in Ukraine anytime it chooses, if it were willing to be severe enough in, bringing damage. Putin's been running a kinder, gentler war in Ukraine because historically Kiev was the capital of Russia. There are many Russians who live in Ukraine. He doesn't really want to disrupt the country, or shall we say as minimally, as little as possible. So he's been kind and gentle, but Zelensky's out of control. And the idea of France and England sending troops there is just bizarre beyond words. I think Iran is prepared, contemplating a preemptive strike on Diego Garcia. I have endorsed the idea. I have a friend, however, who thinks it would be a colossal mistake because it'll bring about the U.S. using nukes on Iran. I think the U.S. is going to use nukes on Iran anyway, so I don't see that changes the equation. And once that happens, of course, we're all goners because the missiles are going to fly. Dan, thanks for the call.
Okay. Thanks for taking the call. All right, bye.
Sure.
Now these days are gone and I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind. I'll open up the door.
I do love Mr. Kite. let's go back to the gray zone, talking about how the U.S. is forfeiting free speech for Israel. Really terrible situation. But I'm sorry to say it's happening.
Love to make fun of woke college students for feeling unsafe on campus because if someone was opposed to, for example, again, this is exactly what they mocked liberal college students for.
Yeah.
Is trying to punish other people for making them feel unsafe. And now they're so excited because there's a lawsuit going on against Columbia students for exactly what they would mock college kids for previously.
It's the dumbest lawsuit I've ever seen, but who is Josh Hawley screaming at there? That's Ken Stern, who was a longtime staffer at the American Jewish Committee. I actually know him. He wrote the IHRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition of anti-Semitism that is now being used to crush free speech. And Ken Stern has come out and said that he regrets doing that definition was never meant to be enforceable because it equates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And, the reason he's testifying there is basically in opposition to this crackdown on free speech. So you have someone really coming out of the heart of the Zionist movement denouncing what is being done with his own work.
Just a quote from that lawsuit that was filed against Columbia.
Yeah, I got it here.
It says that the acts of Columbia students constitute, quote, a continuous act of international terrorism. Okay? So if you make a...
Wait. Read the whole thing starting at 75.
Okay, all right. On October 7th, the younger brother of plaintiff Jane Moe, a Columbia student, was deployed to Gaza, where he fought against Hamas for over a year and sustained injuries in battle. As a result, Moe, the Columbia student, has experienced severe emotional distress, exacerbated by the demonstrations on Columbia's campus that glorified the terrorists who had attempted to harm her brother. Each of the crimes discussed above was an individual act of international terrorism, and viewed collectively, all the foregoing conduct, commencing on October 7th and lasting through today, constitutes a continuous act of international terrorism. So not only can you be sued for emotional distress if you criticize Israel, because that will upset a student whose brother is helping kill Palestinians in Gaza, you'll also be accused of international terrorism in the process. And this lawsuit also makes the insane allegation that somehow...
Wait. Leave this on screen. Just to drill this down.
Spend as much time as you can with your family, your friends, or people you love and care about, because we do not know how much time we have left. And if Trump attacks Iran, it's going to be very short. Use that time wisely and support RBN. Back tomorrow. See you then.
Gonna try.